So the data just shifted, man. What's unfolding with 3i Atlas right now, as we speak, is absolutely wild. Unlike anything we've seen with any other celestial body. Just recently, after its closest brush with the sun, this thing times erupted, asterisk. Not just a little outgassing, but these luminous jets stretching nearly 3 million kilometers into the void. I mean, 3 million kilometers is less than break time equals 0.5 seconds, is greater than. That's not just a comet getting active. Scientists are openly saying its behavior isn't natural, that it's not acting like a comet times at all, asterisk. Some, like Avi Loeb, are even throwing out the idea that we're looking at a violent breakup, or is less than break time equals 0.5 seconds, is greater than or a times response, asterisk. And what's truly mind-bending about this, given this unprecedented show of force, is that they're still telling us it's going to remain visually faint, that we won't see it with the naked eye on December 19th as it makes its closest approach to Earth. You're telling me this interstellar visitor, this object that appeared bluer than the sun itself and is spewing a coma absolutely dominated by carbon dioxide in ratios we've never witnessed, with nickel signatures but barely any iron, almost like an industrial alloy? You're telling me times remains an invisible blur in our sky? How can something so anomalous, exhibiting non-gravitational acceleration that defies celestial models, showing an anti-tail that points times towards times the sun, the opposite of what physics predicts, still be too faint for human vision? It just doesn't compute, does it? It makes you really question what the hell is actually going on out there and why the official narrative feels so incomplete, especially when even NASA's data streams went silent for a bit. This thing is a total riddle, just when we need clarity the most. And that's the real head scratcher, isn't it? So you're telling me this thing, this bona fide interstellar interloper, 3i Atlas, which has been making headlines since its discovery in July 2025 by the Atlas Survey Project in Chile, a project specifically designed to catch these fast movers, this thing that's reportedly showing us a coma. Absolutely. Asterisk, glowing times with carbon dioxide in ratios we've never seen, from a comet displaying nickel signatures but almost no iron, like some kind of industrial grade alloy, and exhibiting non-gravitational acceleration that just laughs at our current celestial mechanics models. This object is going to remain effectively invisible to the naked eye on December 19th. It's mind-blowing. I mean, we're talking about an object whose nucleus alone is estimated to be anywhere from 1,400 feet to potentially 3.5 miles across, a substantial piece of something from outside our cosmic zip code. Yet, as it makes its closest pass to Earth on the 19th of December 2025, at a staggering distance of about 1.8 astronomical units, or roughly 270 million kilometers, which is actually 1.8 times the distance between Earth and the Sun, it's going to be so far out there that the average person won't even register it. It's not just far, it's going to be on the times opposite side, times of the Sun from us during its closest approach to Earth. So the closest it comes to us, it's also playing peekaboo around our star. That's a hell of a cosmic setup, isn't it? The data, the times, official times data, tells us its apparent magnitude is currently hovering around 10.3 to 12. Now, for anyone not obsessed with astronomy, let me break that down. The human eye, under ideal dark skies, can generally only pick out objects up to about magnitude 6. So when something is rated at magnitude 10 or 12, we're talking about an object that's hundreds, if not thousands of times too faint for our eyes to detect. It's a whisper in a hurricane, visually speaking. And this isn't just a casual estimate. Astronomers are saying unequivocally no chance for naked eye visibility. They're not even hedging their bets with maybe if you're in perfect conditions. It's just not going to happen. What's wild is how much effort is actually going into observing this times invisible times thing. To even catch a glimpse, you're going to need some serious hardware. We're talking about telescopes, with at least a 30 centimeter or 12-inch aperture. Forget your dad's old binoculars, those won't cut it for most viewers, and even an 8-inch scope would be pushing it, especially with any ambient moonlight. It's a testament to its faintness that you'd need such a powerful light bucket just to resolve it as a faint smudge of light. And when is the best time to even try? You'd have to be up in the early pre-dawn hours, looking low on the eastern-northeastern horizon. It's currently creeping through the constellation Virgo, but by mid-December it'll have drifted northward into Leo, appearing just below that bright white star, Regulus. So, you're sacrificing sleep, finding a spot far away from any light pollution, and hoping for clear skies, all just to confirm what the super telescopes have already told us. But here's where it gets truly interesting. This isn't some boring, run-of-the-mill space rock. We know this thing is Time's active asterisk. ESA's Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, or JUICE, actually snapped some incredible observations in November 2025, right after 3I, Atlas, had made its closest pass to the Sun in late October. It was about 1.4 AU from the Sun then, just inside Mars's orbit, and that's when it was technically at its brightest, but also lost in the Sun's glare from Earth. JUICE used 5 of its scientific instruments. Think of it: Janus, a high-resolution optical camera; Magis, a spectrometer analyzing light; UVS, an ultraviolet spectrometer; SWI, a sub-millimeter wave instrument, all focused on this one object. And what they saw, even with limited initial data transmission due to JUICE's orientation as a heat shield, was a dynamically active comet with a glowing coma, distinct plasma, and dust tails. This isn't just a chunk of ice, it's an entire light show happening out there, just too far for our eyes to appreciate. And what about those ice volcanoes and that cryovolcanism that scientists are talking about? So you're telling me this thing is literally erupting with volatile gases and particles like a deep space geyser, making it shine bright enough for advanced instruments, but still not for us? This cryovolcanism is something they've observed on primitive carbonaceous objects, ice-rich bodies in the outer solar system. The spectral similarities indicate 3I, Atlas, might be a primitive carbonaceous object, potentially enriched in native metal, undergoing significant aqueous alteration as it approaches the Sunday. This makes sense when you consider the nickel signatures with very little iron that were also detected. It's like it's building a case for itself as something incredibly unique, something that doesn't quite fit our standard models for comets, yet it refuses to give us the satisfaction of a direct visual encounter. Then there's the trajectory. ESA, in a remarkable feat of astronomical precision, actually used data from their ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, or TGO, orbiting Mars to refine 3I Atlas's path by a factor of times 10 asterisk. This was the first astrometric measurements from a spacecraft around another planet officially submitted to the Minor Planet Center database. The TGO was about 10 times closer to 3I Atlas than Earth-based telescopes when it observed the comet from October 1 to 7. This triangulation of data, combining observations from Mars and Earth, gave them unprecedented accuracy in predicting its journey. And what that precision tells us is that this thing is indeed on a hyperbolic, unbound trajectory, heading out of our solar system just as fast as it came in. It's not staying, it's just passing through, traveling at speeds up to 250,000 kilometers per hour. And after its brief flirtation with Earth's general vicinity, it's set for a potentially course-altering encounter with Jupiter on the 16th of March 2026. The gravity assist from the largest planet in our solar system will then slingshot it back into interstellar space, never to return. So, we have a scientifically extraordinary object, a true anomaly from beyond our solar system, glowing with unusual compositions, exhibiting bizarre activity, and traveling on an incredibly precise, high-speed trajectory that our best instruments can now track with pinpoint accuracy thanks to interplanetary teamwork. Yet, for all its cosmic drama, it remains a faint, fuzzy target, requiring the most dedicated amateur astronomers with high-end equipment to even register it as a speck against the vast canvas of the pre-dawn sky. It's almost like it's taunting us, isn't it? Showing us just enough of its strangeness to keep us guessing, but never enough to give us that undeniable, in-your-face spectacle that would truly blow the lid off the conventional narrative. What if its very faintness is part of the design? What if it's meant to be observed by the few, the technologically advanced, and not the many? It just makes you wonder, man, what else are we missing because our eyes aren't good enough, or because the objects themselves don't want times to be seen by everyone? The mystery only deepens when something so clearly anomalous remains so frustratingly out of reach for casual observation. It's like the universe is giving us a puzzle, but only providing half the pieces to the masses, while the rest are hidden behind layers of astronomical data and high-powered telescopes. And that, to me, is the most fascinating part of this whole damn thing. And that, to me, is the most fascinating part of this whole damn thing. Because when you start digging into the actual granular data, when you look at the raw physics of what's happening with 3i, Atlas, it's not just unusual is less than, break time equals 0.5 seconds, is greater than its anomalous to the point of breaking our established models. It's like the universe is just openly laughing at our textbooks. We're talking about an object that, once dismissed as just another comet, started moving in ways that no natural body by our current understanding ever could. And that's not just some conspiracy theory. That's the data speaking. So let's break this down, because this is where it gets really interesting, man. First off, you have the orbital mechanics of this thing. We're taught in school about gravity, right? Isaac Newton, apples falling, planets orbiting in predictable ellipses. That's the bedrock. But then you have 3i Atlas, and it's exhibiting what they call non-gravitational acceleration. Think about that for a second. It's not just coasting through space, influenced solely by the gravitational pulls of the sun and planets. It's times doing something else, asterisk. Now, for a regular comet, you might see some non-gravitational acceleration because of outgassing jets of material shooting off the surface as the ice sublimates, acting like tiny thrusters. But the scale, the times, nature times of this acceleration with 3i Atlas is different. It's so profound that it's got guys like Elon Musk agreeing with Avi Loeb, saying something beyond gravity is affecting the comet's trajectory. What does that even mean? Is it truly a comet if it's defying the very forces that define cometary behavior? It's almost as if it's making course corrections, navigating, and that's a hell of a thing to consider when you're talking about a chunk of ice and rock. Then you factor in its trajectory itself. This thing isn't just wandering aimlessly. It's got an incredibly precise trajectory. Loeb highlighted on the podcast that it's aligned within 5 degrees of the planetary plane. Now, think about the sheer, unfathomable vastness of space, the random chaos of stellar nurseries, the countless directions and object times could times come from. For an interstellar visitor to just times happen, times to align itself within 5 degrees of our solar system's ecliptic plane, the plane where all our planets orbit, that has only a 1 in 500 chance of occurring by sheer coincidence. 1 in 500, randomly. That's not nothing. That's a strong statistical anomaly. And then, to top it all off, it's moving in a retrograde path. That means it's going the opposite direction of our planets. It's not following the flow, it's going against the current. Why would something natural, flung from another star system, decide to take such a precise countercurrent path through times, our times, neighborhood? It almost screams intentionality, doesn't it? As Loeb put it, it's a ideal route for deploying small probes. I mean, I'm just saying, that's a hell of a coincidence for a cosmic snowball. Is less than break time equals 0.5 seconds is greater than And it's not just the movement that's throwing everything off. Let's talk about its composition, what it's made of, which we learn through spectral analysis. This is where we shine light through the object's coma or tail and see what elements are present based on the wavelengths of light they absorb or emit. And 3I Atlas is giving us some truly bizarre signatures. For one, it has one of the highest carbon dioxide to water ratios ever observed in any time's comet. Now, what does that mean? It suggests its home, wherever it came from, was somewhere much colder than ours. Okay, that's interesting. But it also points to unusual formation conditions. Is it an ice giant fragment or something else entirely? The implications are massive when you consider its origin. But the real mind bender, the one that really gets your brain twisting, is the discovery of nickel in its gas cloud. Not just nickel, though. Nickel with little or no iron. Now, on Earth, where do we mostly find nickel in such quantities? In industrial alloys. Think aerospace applications, high-strength metals, natural deposits of nickel, especially from meteorites or comets, almost always come with iron. It's the standard package deal, the cosmic recipe. But 3I Atlas is serving up something different, a separation that, in nature, is rarely found. Elon Musk, ever the pragmatist, offered a terrestrial explanation, suggesting that many comets and asteroids' times are times made primarily of nickel, and that Earth's nickel mines are often impact sites from nickel-rich meteorites. And he's not wrong about that, fundamentally. But Loeb's point is about the times ratio asterisk, the lack of iron alongside it, which is the truly baffling part. If it's natural, it's a profound anomaly. If it's times, not times natural, then you're looking at something that has been engineered, smelted, constructed. It's a chemical signature that whispers of technology, not geology. Is less than break time equals 0.5 seconds, is greater than, and then you get into the times emissions, times and times light curves, asterisk, how this thing interacts with light and energy. This is where it starts to feel less like an asteroid and more like a device. Normal comets, when they approach the sun, they outgas, and the solar wind blows their tails times away, times from the sun. It's a standard, predictable phenomenon. But Hubble images of 3I Atlas have revealed a glow that points toward the sun, not away from it. What the hell is that? That defies the basic physics of a comet. Loeb suggested this could indicate a jet or emission system facing the sun, not a natural dust tail. So you're telling me this thing is actively projecting something times towards times the sun, rather than being passively pushed away from it? That's like a boat going upstream against the current without an engine. It just doesn't make sense unless there's an active system at play. And if that wasn't enough, we've got the reports of flashing lights. Deep space monitors, the ones tracking 3I Atlas, started recording small inconsistencies. These weren't random flickers. We're talking about rhythmic light pulses, disturbances lasting between 7 and 9 minutes, repeating every 11 hours. And here's the kicker. This same rotation period observed from 3I Atlas's light pulses. It's an exact match. The odds of such symmetry being random, they said, were virtually zero. So you've got an object, flashing lights, on a precise schedule, directly correlated with its own rotation. What natural phenomenon does that? A lighthouse? A beacon? It's not just reflecting sunlight erratically, it's pulsing with a regularity that suggests something deliberate. And it gets even weirder, man. In Chile, a research facility monitoring microwave background radiation started reporting a strange hum cutting through their recordings. A rhythmic pulse invisible to the naked ear, but perfectly aligned with the object's signal. So not just visible light, but electromagnetic radiation. We're talking about a signal, a times hum asterisk, that is precisely in sync with the physical rotations and light pulses of this object. That's not just a comet outgassing. that's something emitting a coherent signal across different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. That's communication. That's intelligence. Is less than break time equals 0.5 seconds, is greater than, and as if to drive the point home, almost immediately after these observations, we start getting reports of communications from satellites orbiting near Mars, beginning to lag. Data packets were delayed, transmissions echoed, and telemetry lines were suddenly filled with repeating binary strings that made no sense. Think about that. Communications jamming, data corruption, right when this anomalous object is acting like a cosmic strobe light. Is that coincidence, or is it a direct consequence of whatever power source or communication system this thing is utilizing? It's like a Wi-Fi signal being overwhelmed, or a satellite having its data stream deliberately interfered with. This isn't just passive observation. This starts to look like active interaction with our technology. But the absolute physics-defying grand finale, the one that makes you question everything you thought you knew about reality, is the distortion of space itself around 3I Atlas. As October turned, telescopes around the world began to detect something even stranger than light. Space itself was warping around this object. When radio observatories compared timing signals from pulsars passing times behind times the delay wasn't normal. It was as if light from distant stars bent slightly more than gravity alone could explain. The object was distorting the fabric of space, creating a measurable gravitational lensing effect far beyond what its size or mass should allow. What the actual hell, man? For a moment, astronomers thought they had discovered a black hole fragment, or some exotic, super dense core hidden beneath the icy crust. But further analysis, the very scientific method we rely on, destroyed that theory. Its density wasn't consistent with a miniature black hole or any known exotic matter that could cause such a lensing effect for its apparent size. So, you're telling me we have an object that, by all accounts, shouldn't be dense enough to warp space-time like this, yet it is times warping space-time? That's not just an anomaly, that's a fundamental challenge to general relativity, to our understanding of gravity itself. It suggests either an incredibly advanced form of stealth technology that can manipulate space-time, or some form of matter or energy that we haven't even conceived of yet. This isn't just ice volcanoes erupting, which themselves are strange enough for an interstellar object. This is something that's bending the very rules of the universe right in front of our telescopes. It's like trying to explain a rocket ship with the physics of a horse-drawn carriage. The models just fundamentally fail. And when your models fail, you either get new models or you get a whole new understanding of what's out there. And that, my friends, is why this thing is shaking the foundations of science, and why we have times to keep talking about it. Because whatever 3I Atlas is, it's not just passing through. It's putting on a goddamn show that forces us to expand our minds to what's truly possible in the cosmos. Anomaly, that's a fundamental challenge to general relativity, to our understanding of gravity itself. It suggests either an incredibly advanced form of stealth technology that can manipulate space-time, or some form of matter or energy that we haven't even conceived of yet. This isn't just ice volcanoes erupting, which themselves are strange enough for an interstellar object. This is something that's bending the very rules of the universe right in front of our telescopes. It's like trying to explain a rocket ship with the physics of a horse-drawn carriage. The models just fundamentally fail. And when your models fail, you either get new models or you get a whole new understanding of what's out there. And that, my friends, is why this thing is shaking the foundations of science. And why we have times to keep talking about it. Because whatever 3I Atlas is, it's not just passing through, it's putting on a goddamn show that forces us to expand our minds to what's truly possible in the cosmos. Is less than break time equals 1 second, is greater than... So let's nail down some of the cold, hard numbers that are coming in right now, because this December, this month, on the 19th, 3I Atlas is making its closest approach to Earth. Now, before anyone starts freaking out, let's be clear. It's still going to be a comfortable 1.8 astronomical units away from us. That's roughly 270 million kilometers, or about 167 million miles, which, to put it in perspective, is far, far beyond the moon. You're not going to see this thing with the naked eye. I mean, the latest observed magnitude for 3 I Atlas is around 10.3, right? For context, the faintest stars you can see with your eyes on a perfectly dark night are around magnitude 6. So you're going to need some decent binoculars, at the very least, if you want to catch a glimpse. And NASA, they're recommending a telescope with an aperture of at least 30 centimeters or 12 inches just to get a good look at it. What's even wilder is that when it makes this closest pass, it's actually going to be on the time's other side of the sun times from our perspective here on Earth. Think about that for a second. We're watching this thing with all its anomalies from literally across the Sunday. That makes direct observation a whole lot more challenging. But the sheer effort they're putting into it with all these different telescopes and probes, it tells you how important this object is less than break time equals 1 second, is greater than... And speaking of trajectories, this thing's path has been one of the most talked about elements. It already made its closest pass to the sun, its perihelion, on October 29th, hitting about 1.36 AU from our star, which is roughly 203 million kilometers. At that point, it was ripping through space at a maximum speed of about 68 kilometers per second, or 42 miles per second, relative to the Sunday that's moving. But the truly bizarre part, the part that makes you scratch your head and wonder, is this non-gravitational acceleration. I mean, we've seen comets do this before, sure, with outgassing, acting like tiny rocket thrusters, but with 3 I Atlas, the numbers are just different. Avi Loeb, the Harvard astrophysicist, he's been tracking this meticulously. He pointed out that back on October 30th, the radial acceleration component, A1, was listed at 1.6 x 10 negative 6 AU per day squared. By November 24th, that number had been drastically reduced by a factor of 4, down to 4x 10 negative 7 AU per day squared. And then just a couple of days later, it was revised times, again, asterisk, by a factor of 6 to a mere 6.8 x 10 negative 8 AU per day squared, this time using a new model that assumes an inverse squared dependence on distance from the sun, more appropriate for carbon dioxide sublimation rather than water ice. So you're telling me these models are constantly being tweaked, revised, and adjusted in real time, almost like they're trying to times the data to fit a conventional cometary outgassing scenario. Loeb himself wasn't buying it, saying this new model is likely inadequate because 3 I Atlas actually became times brighter, times near perihelion than that smooth 1R2 model would predict. This suggests a much steeper radial dependence for its non-gravitational acceleration, which then starts to push the trajectory back into alignment with some truly wild coincidences, particularly when you look at its rendezvous with Jupiter. Is less than break time equals 1 second, is greater than, because here's where it gets really compelling, the kind of thing that makes you lean forward. This object is set to make a remarkably close pass to Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, on March 16th, 2026. It's going to pass within approximately 0.358 AU, or about 53 million kilometers, 33 million miles from the gas giant. Now, why is that significant? Because initial forecasts before these non-gravitational acceleration models got all wonky put its minimum peri-Jove distance times identical times to Jupiter's Hill radius. The Hill radius, for those unfamiliar, is that region where Jupiter's gravity dominates over the sun's. Anything inside that it's captured, anything outside, it generally gets flung out by the sun's pull. And the initial prediction was that this thing was going to be right on the edge, 53.445 million kilometers within one standard deviation of Jupiter's Hill radius of 53.50, 2 million kilometers. Avi Loeb, he highlighted this as an unlikely coincidence, statistically smaller than 0.00004%. He emailed NASA JPL about it, and within days they revised their model, suddenly placing it times slightly outside times the Hill radius at 53.587 million kilometers. So you're telling me a statistical impossibility, a trajectory so precise it makes you question everything, gets quietly adjusted once a prominent scientist points it out? It's almost like they're trying to avoid the implications to make it seem less engineered. Loeb even quipped, "The insistence of the Vatican on the Earth being at the center of the solar system did not change the orbit of the Earth around the Sunday. For the same reason, the new model of JPL horizons will not change the actual trajectory of 3I Atlas." He's basically saying reality is reality, no matter how much you try to model it away, is less than break time equals 1 second, is greater than. And this non-gravitational acceleration isn't just a minor blip, it's significant. The measured value was around 0.02 millimeters per second squared near perihelion. If that acceleration was purely from outgassing, from ice turning to gas, it implies that 3I Atlas would have had to lose about a sixth of its mass in a month. A sixth of its mass. But here's the kicker. Earlier observations by the James Webb Space Telescope back in August indicated a CO₂ mass loss rate of about 150 kilograms per second. According to Loeb, this rate did yield a detectable non-gravitational acceleration in the months leading up to October if we don't observe a massive cloud of gas around 3 Atlas times this month times the next, corresponding to that level of mass loss. Then what are we looking at? Because if the rocket effect isn't noticeable, the mass of 3I Atlas would have to be times massive asterisk, potentially over 33 billion tons, implying a solid nucleus diameter larger than 5 kilometers. That's a huge divergence from other Hubble estimates that put its nucleus between 0.44 and 5.6 kilometers, most likely less than 1 kilometer. So you've got a situation where either it's an incredibly dense, massive object that's not times outgassing as much as it should for that acceleration, or, as Loeb suggests, we're looking at a technological signature, a propulsion system, akin to his dark comet hypothesis for Oumuamua, and the fact that we're seeing dual clockwise spin waves rotating through its coma, something no natural comet has ever displayed in the historical record. That's another data point in the what the hell is going on here column, is less than break time equals 1 second, is greater than. Now, let's talk about the composition, because this is where the picture gets even stranger. The James Webb Space Telescope, using its near-spec instrument, has revealed that 3I Atlas is unusually rich in carbon dioxide, with only a small amount of water ice, water vapor, carbon monoxide, and carbonyl sulfide. When you put numbers to it, we're talking about an extreme CO₂ enrichment with a CO₂ to H2O ratio of about 7.6 to 0.3, which is 4.5 sigma above solar system comet trends. That's statistically significant. It's one of the highest ever recorded, alongside substantial CO levels. This unprecedented composition, combined with red spectral slopes, provides direct evidence for galactic cosmic ray processing of its outer layers. So, what does that mean? It means this thing has been exposed to the harsh radiation of deep space for billions of years, processing its outer 15 to 20 meters, turning CO into CO₂, creating an organic-rich crust. It's an ancient artifact, untouched by any star's heat, coming from a place much colder than our solar system, is less than break time equals 1 second, is greater than. But then you have the Very Large Telescope. picking up something else fascinating. It's emitting cyanide gas and atomic nickel vapor. Now, nickel, that's where Elon Musk and I talked about this. You find nickel in comets, sure, but what's bizarre about 3I ATLAS is its high nickel to iron production rate. On Earth, when you see high nickel with little to no iron, what do you think of? Industrial alloys, aerospace applications. It's a chemical signature that makes you pause, that makes you go, wait a minute, what if this isn't just a random chunk of ice and rock? What if it's been times worked? Asterisk. The Meerkat radio telescope even detected hydroxyl signals on the 24th of October 2025 at 1,665 and 1,667 gigahertzes, ushering in a new era for studying these objects. And the Psyche spacecraft with its multispectral imager is adding to the optical data, helping refine the trajectory and get a closer look at that faint coma. Is less than break time equals 1 second, is greater than, and let's not forget the ice volcanoes. Observations suggest that as 3I Atlas got closer to the sun, cryovolcanoes erupted on its surface, spewing out these icy jets. The material being vented is consistent with a metal-rich, carbonaceous body, similar to trans-Neptunian objects in our own solar system, but this thing is from times interstellar time-space. The Hubble Space Telescope has given us images that show a teardrop-shaped glowing halo, an anti-tail, extending times towards times the Sunday. That's not how typical cometary tails behave. They usually get blown times away times from the sun by solar radiation. This anti-tail extends out to about 60,000 kilometers. And Loeb proposes it could be associated with a swarm of macroscopic non-volatile objects that separated from it due to its non-gravitational acceleration. He predicted this separation, and the latest Hubble images align perfectly with his prediction. It's like something is being ejected, or something is pushing it in a direction that gravity alone can't explain. Is less than break time equals 1 second, is greater than the European Space Agency's JUICE spacecraft, which is primarily designed to navigate Jupiter's icy moons. Even got a piece of this action. Its NavCam, not even a dedicated science instrument, caught a glimpse of 3I Atlas in November, revealing a glowing coma and hints of times 2, times tails, a plasma tail of electrically charged gas pointing away from the sun, and a fainter dust tail curving along its trajectory. This is typical cometary activity as it heats up, but the context of times, all times, the other anomalies, makes you wonder if typical is really the right word for anything associated with this object. The dust mass loss rates are between 0.3 to 4.2 kilograms per second, higher than expected for an interstellar object, with M to M sized dust particles being ejected at speeds from 0.01 to 1 meter per second. It's definitely active, but is that activity masking something else? Is it a byproduct of a system that's times meant times to shed mass in a controlled way? Or is it truly just an unusual, natural comet that's breaking all the rules we thought we knew? Is less than break time equals 1 second is greater than, so when you put all this scientific data together, the bizarre non-gravitational acceleration that defies easy modeling, the statistically improbable trajectory towards Jupiter's Hill sphere, the anomalous chemical signatures of nickel with little iron, the extreme CO2 enrichment, the ice volcanoes, the sunward anti-tail, the dual spin waves in the coma, you start to realize this isn't just an interesting space rock. This is something that is forcing us to confront the very limits of our current astrophysical understanding. It's challenging our paradigms, pushing us to ask whether our models are incomplete or if we're witnessing something truly unprecedented. And that, my friends, is the most exciting and terrifying part of this whole cosmic drama unfolding right before our eyes. We're getting closer to it, collecting more data, than ever before on an interstellar object, and every new piece of information just opens up more questions, more rabbit holes to explore. The universe, man, it's wilder than we can even imagine. Okay, so if we take all this data together, the bizarre non-gravitational acceleration that defies easy modeling, the statistically improbable trajectory towards Jupiter's Hill sphere, the anomalous chemical signatures of nickel with little iron, the extreme CO₂ enrichment, the ice volcanoes, the sunward anti-tail, the dual spin waves in the Comet, you start to realize this isn't just an interesting space rock. This is something that is forcing us to confront the very limits of our current astrophysical understanding. It's challenging our paradigms, pushing us to ask whether our models are incomplete or if we're witnessing something truly unprecedented. And that, my friends, is the most exciting and terrifying part of this whole cosmic drama unfolding right before our eyes. We're getting closer to it, collecting more data than ever before on an interstellar object, and every new piece of information just opens up more questions, more rabbit holes to explore. The universe, man, it's wilder than we can even imagine. But what if what we're seeing isn't just some extreme, unheard of natural phenomenon? What if it's not a comet in the way we understand comets at all? What if, and this is where it gets really times fascinating, this thing is artificial? I mean, what if it's a craft, a probe, designed by an intelligence so far beyond ours that it simply appears to be a natural object, perfectly mimicking the kind of cosmic debris we expect to see? You hear guys like Avi Loeb from Harvard, and he's not just spitballing here. He's looking at the raw data and saying, look, he's out there, this is Time's weird asterisk. He's out there making claims right there on the podcast that 3I Atlas could be observing Earth with hidden probes, potentially even acting as a surveillance craft from another civilization. And you listen to him, you look at the evidence, and you're like, damn, that's a hell of a thought. Think about it. The sheer scale of it, roughly the size of Manhattan Island, yet moving in a way that truly defies conventional cosmic explanations. If you're going to build something to traverse the vastness of interstellar space, wouldn't you want it robust? Wouldn't you want it substantial enough to endure cosmic radiation, micrometeoroids, all the crap out there that would turn a smaller craft into Swiss cheese? And the trajectory, man, that's where it starts to scream Time's intentional asterisk. It's aligned within 5 degrees of our planetary plane. That's a 1 in 500 chance of occurring by sheer coincidence. What are the odds? What are the real time's odds? And then you've got this retrograde path moving opposite to our planet's orbital motion. Loeb himself points out that this is an ideal route for deploying smaller probes into planetary orbits, like around Earth, Mars, or even Jupiter. So you're telling me this comet, just times to wander into our system on the perfect intercept course to potentially seed our neighborhood with tiny scouts? That's a pretty wild coincidence, wouldn't you say? And then there's the chemistry. This is where it gets truly anomalous. We're talking about a gas trail dominated by nickel with almost no iron. Now, if you know anything about metallurgy, you know that nickel and iron usually form together in nature, right? They're cosmic buddies forged in supernovae. But pure nickel, or nickel with vastly disproportionate iron, that's not natural. That's industrial. That's what we see in specialized alloys, often used in aerospace. So you're seeing a signature that looks manufactured, like something crafted for a specific purpose. It looks like something built. That right there should make you pause. That's not just a little anomaly. That's a major times red flag for not natural. And the CO₂ enrichment, this extreme abundance of carbon dioxide compared to water, it's a paradoxical ratio for a typical comet. Maybe it's not meant to behave like a typical comet at all. So if it's artificial, how is it moving? That non-gravitational acceleration we're observing, the subtle pushes and pulls that don't align with simple gravity and solar radiation pressure, that could be its propulsion system. We're talking about something beyond our current technology, something that manipulates space-time, or perhaps a highly efficient directed energy drive we haven't even conceived of yet. Nuclear pulse, propulsion, fusion rockets, antimatter drives, these are all theoretical concepts for us that could move something at a significant fraction of the speed of light across interstellar distances. Maybe 3. Atlas is using a variation of some exotic propulsion method to achieve these precise adjustments. The very idea that it would require shedding 13% of its mass to account for the observed non-gravitational acceleration, yet remains intact and cohesive, implies a level of structural integrity and possibly an internal energy source far beyond what we'd expect from a mere icy rock. It's not breaking apart, it's times holding together, times under immense internal forces. And the ice volcanoes everyone's talking about, while scientists are quick to label them as cryovolcanism, which is a real thing, we've seen it on places like Ceres and Enceladus, what if on 3I Atlas these aren't natural eruptions? What if they're times-controlled vents? Asterisk. Think about it. A sophisticated probe arriving in a new solar system, trying to blend in. What better way to mask your true identity than to mimic a comet? You vent gas, you create a coma, you put on a show of natural activity. It could be a kind of active camouflage, kicking up dust and gas to obscure its internal mechanisms, its true shape, its actual intent. The search results even mention a theory that these cryovolcanoes could be fueled by the corrosion of internal metal grains reacting with liquid and releasing CO2. If you're building an artificial object, you could engineer a controlled process like that to generate the appearance of a comet, releasing specific gases like CO2 and nickel in controlled bursts, maintaining the facade. And what about that bizarre glow, that anti-tail that points times towards times the sun, not away from it? Comets, man, their tails get pushed away by solar radiation. Physics dictates that. But this thing, it's doing the opposite. It's almost like it's times thrusting times towards the sun, or using some kind of energy emission system that's interacting with the solar wind in an unnatural way. If it's a propulsion system, imagine a highly advanced directional jet designed not just for movement, but also for deception, and the detection of surprisingly large 100-micron dust particles in that anti-tail. Those are too big to be easily pushed away by solar radiation. It suggests a more forceful ejection, like a deliberate expulsion of material to further obscure its true nature. What if those ice volcanoes are actually carefully engineered vents, part of a larger cloaking mechanism? Speaking of cloaking, imagine the technology an advanced civilization would possess. We're talking about active camouflage that doesn't just bend light, but perhaps even shifts the object slightly out of phase with normal space-time, making it effectively invisible, or at least highly indistinct to our detection methods. That would explain why it wasn't immediately obvious what this thing was, why we're constantly recalculating its properties and scratching our heads. It's like a cosmic stealth bomber, designed to enter a system, observe, and remain undetected. The heartbeat pulse of light that it's radiating, repeating every 16.16 hours, is that just a natural spin, like a lighthouse, or is it a controlled signal? Is it a form of communication, a diagnostic ping, or perhaps even a scanning burst from its sensors sending data back to its creators? What kind of sensors would be on something like that? Imagine optical sensors capable of incredible resolution, gravitational wave detectors, neutrino observatories, all operating silently, gathering intelligence on our planet. This brings us to the really heavy stuff, the dark forest theory. You know, the idea from Cixin Liu's books, where the universe is like a dark forest and every civilization is a silent, armed hunter. You don't make noise. You don't announce your presence. Because if you do, you risk attracting attention from something that might decide to eliminate you. It's a chilling thought, but if you're an advanced civilization sending probes out, it makes a perverse kind of sense to hide your tracks, to make your probes look like natural phenomena, to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, or in this case, a probe in Comet's clothing. What if 3I Atlas is exactly that? A silent observer, a reconnaissance mission designed to gather data without revealing the existence of its creators. Or Even more mind-blowing, what if it's a von Neumann probe? These are hypothetical, self-replicating spacecraft designed to explore the galaxy. They land on resource-rich bodies, replicate themselves, and then send out new copies to explore further. If 3I, Atlas is a mothership capable of deploying smaller probes that fits the von Neumann model perfectly. It arrives, assesses the system, perhaps even harvests some resources. Maybe those nickel deposits are more than just signatures. Maybe they're raw materials. And then sends out these mini probes. What if those ice volcanoes, those controlled vents, are actually launch tubes for these smaller drones, ejecting small camouflage probes into our solar system to get up close and personal with Earth, Mars, Jupiter? The timing of its trajectory towards Jupiter in March 2026, so precise, could be a rendezvous point, a place to gather resources or to deploy further. The vast distances of space mean such a probe would need to be entirely self-sufficient, a marvel of engineering, capable of repair and replication without external input for millennia. The anomalous composition and activity aren't just strange. They could be a testament to its alien origins, its advanced manufacturing, its entire self-sustaining ecosystem within. So, when NASA and others are quick to say it's just a comet, you have to wonder, are they genuinely convinced, or are they following a protocol of downplaying anything that could cause mass panic or societal disruption? Because if this times is times an artificial object, if it's a probe from another civilization, whether benign or not, everything changes. It forces us to reconsider our place in the universe, the nature of intelligence, and the possibilities of technology that dwarf our own, and the fact that discussions about this possibility are being deliberately blocked or downplayed by some in the scientific community, as Loeb has claimed, that just makes you even more curious. It's like the universe is putting on a show right in our backyard, and we're still trying to figure out if it's a magic trick or something far more profound. This isn't just a scientific curiosity. This is a potential paradigm shift for humanity, happening right now as 3I Atlas continues its silent, mysterious journey through our solar system. And that brings us to where we are right now, staring up at the night sky, or rather at the data streams from our most powerful telescopes, watching 3I Atlas. This thing is on its silent, mysterious journey through our solar system, but around it, man, there is absolutely nothing silent about the debate erupting within the global scientific community. It's a war of ideas, a philosophical battle playing out in academic journals, and let's be honest, all over the internet, right? You've got the old guard, the established institutions, and then you've got these renegades, these outliers, pushing the boundaries, asking the uncomfortable questions. Now, on one side, you have the official lines, right? NASA and ESA, they're being incredibly cautious, almost to a fault, some would argue. They're releasing statements consistent with their established protocols, emphasizing that 3I Atlas, despite its peculiarities, looks and behaves like a comet. They'll tell you it's overwhelmingly pointing to this object being a natural body. They admit it's fascinating, exciting, and scientifically very important, which, okay, that's a given, but they're quick to stamp Comet on it, almost like they're trying to keep a lid on something. We've seen new Hubble images, right, showing it closer, clearer, but no new revelations from NASA yet, just that steady reiteration, it's a comet. Even the ESA, they were quick to react, deploying ground-based telescopes in Hawaii, Chile, Australia, and then space telescopes like Hubble, JWST, and even reorienting their Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, JUICE, to get a look. And JUICE actually snapped an image showing signs of activity, hinting at times 2 times tails, which they called a surprise. A surprise. What does surprise even mean in this context? It means their models, their expectations are being challenged, but the official narrative stays put. So what's their explanation for all the weirdness? Well, you hear about cryovolcanism, right? Like ice volcanoes. But what's fascinating about this is that some research papers are using cryovolcanism as a times comparative lens asterisk, not a confirmation that 3I Atlas is actually erupting with geological ice volcanoes in the traditional sense. They're talking about solar-driven sublimation, where ice turns directly into gas, causing dust mantle ruptures and chemical activation when water hits nickel-bearing metal grains. This creates pressure pockets, ejecting dust and gas in events that times resemble cryovolcanic bursts. It's a nuanced story, suggesting its pristine state and unique chemical composition, exposed to solar heat for the first time in billions of years, are creating dynamic activation events rarely seen in our own solar system's comets. So they're saying, yeah, it's weird, but it's naturally times weird, a product of extremely cold formation conditions in another star system. It's a comet, just one forged in a much colder, stranger place. And to be fair, some of the anomalies, like the sunward jet or outgassing acceleration, they do times have analogs in other comets, just at more extreme levels. That's what people like David Jewett, leading comet expert, are saying. He thinks it's an interesting object, but it's still just a comet. He's out there planning observations with Hubble and James Webb in December, trying to get to the bottom of it. But then you've got the other side, the guys who are like, hold on a minute, this ain't adding up. And leading that charge, man, is Harvard's Avi Loeb. He's been relentless, pushing back against what he sees as scientific dogma, against the reluctance to even times consider time's extraordinary possibilities. He's not saying definitively it's aliens, but he's arguing that the scientific community has a duty to consider a low probability event just because the implications are huge. It's like, what are we afraid of? He's openly criticizing what he perceives as NASA withholding information, even accusing them of staying silent while independent reports are leaking whispers of something impossible. So you're telling me, with all the data available, with all the anomalies piling up, these guys are still trying to squeeze this square peg into a round hole called Comet? Loeb and his colleagues, they're highlighting a laundry list of anomalies that, when you look at them collectively, start to paint a picture that's way more complex, potentially times engineered asterisk, than a simple cosmic snowball. We're talking about non-standard outgassing patterns, sudden, inexplicable brightening, and an atypical chemical signature. Specifically, a high CO₂-to-water ratio, and get this, asterisk, nickel-rich gas times with little to no iron. Nickel with no iron? On Earth, that's primarily found in industrial alloys. I mean, what kind of primordial comet is spitting out industrial-grade nickel? Elon Musk even weighed in on that, saying it could times be aliens, but also offered a terrestrial explanation for nickel in comets, saying many are made primarily of nickel from meteorites. But the times ratio asterisk, man, the times ratio times is the key. Then there's the trajectory. This thing has an unusually low inclination to the ecliptic, our planetary plane, with only a 0.2% likelihood of that happening by chance. And its inbound direction, get this, falls within about 9 degrees of the WOW signal, that famous unexplained radio burst from deep space back in 1977. What are the odds of times coincidence? Loeb calculates it at around 0.6%, but even more mind-blowing is its projected encounter with Jupiter. Initial calculations showed its forecasted distance from Jupiter on the 16th of March 2026, matching Jupiter's hill radius almost exactly. The odds of that happening by chance? Smaller than 0.00004%. That's 1 in a million, man. It's like this thing is times aiming times for these precise planetary flybys. Mars, Venus, Jupiter, it's hitting all these points with an almost impossible precision. Loeb argues that this near alignment offers various benefits to an extraterrestrial intelligence, since it allows a spacecraft to access Earth with relative impunity. And then there's the sheer scale of it and the way it's moving. It's estimated to be far more massive than Oumuamua or Borisov, possibly over 33 billion tons, with a nucleus larger than 5 kilometers in diameter. That's a huge object, moving at mind-boggling speeds, and its non-gravitational acceleration isn't random. It's showing a steady curve, a pattern that some are interpreting as times-guided asterisk. It's like it's steering itself. For a comet to accelerate that much from outgassing, it would have to be shedding mass catastrophically, but we're not seeing massive plumes that would explain it. And some of the optical oddities, a prominent sunward jet, also known as an anti-tail, which is rare in comets, extremely negative polarization of reflected sunlight, stronger than any normal comet, and irregular brightness flickers, increasing and decreasing without a clear pattern, suggesting organized surface structures. One report even claimed it changed color to a bright blue and underwent rapid brightening when it reached perihelion, while astronomers later clarified that apparent color shifts were due to changing gas-dust ratios and C2CN emissions. The level times of activity and the precise observations still make it highly unusual. And then there's the really out there stuff, like the idea that it's deliberately beaming energy towards Earth, which some researchers are suggesting is the only way to reconcile some of the thermal emission data with known physics. Deliberate beaming? Ponder that for a moment, man. That implies intentionality, a purpose. So what you have here is this incredible tension. NASA, ESA, they're playing it cool, saying it's a comet, business as usual, nothing to see here, move along. They're emphasizing that the data, while unusual, can still fit within models of natural phenomena, just at the extreme edges of those models. They're saying the natural comet hypothesis remains overwhelmingly accepted by the scientific community. And then you have guys like Avi Loeb basically calling out the scientific establishment for intellectual arrogance, for suppressing curiosity, for not taking these anomalies seriously enough, simply because they challenge our comfortable assumptions about our place in the universe. He's saying that even if it's natural, it's a type of comet we've never witnessed before. And if we just dismiss it out of hand, we're making a monumental mistake. This isn't just some obscure academic squabble either. This debate is spilling over into the public consciousness in a huge way. I mean, we're talking about this on my show, right? Elon Musk has been talking about it. Kim Kardashian even posted about it on X. When you've got that kind of mainstream attention on an interstellar object, you know it's hit a nerve. People are hungry for answers, man. They're looking up, wondering what this thing is, and the question of visibility is huge for the public. Even though the official word is that it's far too distant to be seen with the naked eye, it's going to be about 170 to 178 million miles away, 270 to 286 million kilometers at its closest on December 19th. There's still that hope, that underlying desire for it to be something we can all times see, something that fundamentally shifts our perspective. The fact that ground-based observatories and amateur astronomers worldwide times have their telescopes locked on, providing an independent stream of data that's critical for public trust, right? It means it's not just the big agencies telling us what it is. The world gets to watch. And then, just to add another layer of weirdness, this thing has become the focus of a UN and international asteroid warning network planetary defense exercise. They're using 3I Atlas, a non-threatening, scientifically complex interstellar comet, to test global preparedness against cosmic threats, to refine tracking methods and communication protocols. ESA's Hera mission, designed for asteroid deflection, is also being discussed in the context of 3I Atlas, highlighting the need to validate humanity's capability to deflect unpredictable visitors. So, this object is not just sparking scientific debate, it's actively being used to test our ability to protect the planet, even if it poses no immediate threat. It's like a dry run for something far more significant, which, when you think about it, is pretty wild. Even religious groups are getting in on the act, man. Some evangelicals are questioning the alien theories, seeing the growing interest in extraterrestrial life as a distraction from the true creator of the universe, even suggesting visitors could be manifestations of deception. So you've got science, public fascination, conspiracy theories, and even theological debates swirling around this one object. It's like Atlas is a Rorschach test for humanity, man. Everyone sees what they want to see in the cosmic inkblot. This whole situation is a massive stress test for science itself, for how we handle extraordinary claims and anomalous data. Are we going to stick to the most mundane explanation even when the data scream otherwise? Or are we going to have the intellectual courage to follow the evidence no matter where it leads, even if it means confronting something that could fundamentally alter our understanding of reality? Because if even a few of these anomalies remain unexplained, as Loeb suggests, that's when we have times to consider more unconventional possibilities. We owe it to ourselves to look closer, because this isn't just about a comet. This is about whether we're alone, whether there's intelligence out there, and what that means for every single one of us. It's a potential paradigm shift happening right now, in real time, as 3I. Atlas makes its closest approach, forcing a global conversation, a truly cosmic debate that we can't afford to ignore. They want to see in the cosmic inkblot. This whole situation is a massive stress test for science itself, for how we handle extraordinary claims and anomalous data. Are we going to stick to the most mundane explanation even when the data scream otherwise? Or are we going to have the intellectual courage to follow the evidence no matter where it leads, even if it means confronting something that could fundamentally alter our understanding of reality? Because if even a few of these anomalies remain unexplained, as Loeb suggests, that's when we have times to consider more unconventional possibilities. We owe it to ourselves to look closer, because this isn't just about a comet. This is about whether we're alone, whether there's intelligence out there, and what that means for every single one of us. It's a potential paradigm shift happening right now in real time as 3I, Atlas makes its closest approach, forcing a global conversation, a truly cosmic debate that we can't afford to ignore. So here we are, staring down the barrel of December 2025, and 3I, Atlas, is about to make its grand, if distant, entrance. This isn't just some vague future date on a calendar. This is times next week, asterisk. This is happening times right now, asterisk, in astronomical terms. And the tension in the scientific community and among those of us watching from the outside is palpable. We're in that crucial window, that incredibly rare moment where this thing, this interstellar interloper, is briefly popping back into Earth's view right before its closest approach to our planet, which is set for around December 19th. And let's be clear, when I say view, I'm not talking about stepping outside and pointing your phone camera at it. This isn't going to be visible to the naked eye. We're talking about the most powerful telescopes on Earth and in orbit being absolutely locked onto this object. What are they looking for in these coming days leading up to the 19th? Everything. They're trying to refine its trajectory, get even more precise measurements of that baffling non-gravitational acceleration that's been observed, the kind of movement that makes you go, wait a minute, what is times that asterisk? They're analyzing every photon of light, every spectral signature. You've got the James Webb Space Telescope, the JWST, that incredible piece of technology, and a whole network of ground-based observatories, think Keck, think the VLT, powerful radio telescopes across the globe, all poised to capture every shred of data on its trajectory. Its reflectivity, its gas emissions, they're not just scanning, they're times hunting, asterisk. They're looking for any changes in light reflection, any subtle shifts in its movement, any anomalies in its emissions during this period that could be decisive. This isn't just routine astronomy anymore. This feels like an interstellar stakeout. The focus during this pre-close approach window is about capturing the before picture with unprecedented detail. What does its coma look like times now, asterisk? How are those ice volcanoes behaving? Are the unusual features in its expanding coma becoming even more pronounced? We've heard reports of it appearing bluer than the sun and having one of the highest carbon dioxide to water ratios ever observed in a comet, both deeply weird characteristics. What new revelations will emerge as they sift through this perihelion data? Are those light pulses, those rhythmic signals observed, still persisting? What about that nickel signature in its gas cloud, that chemical fingerprint that on Earth is primarily associated with industrial alloys? Elon Musk, even while acknowledging it could be aliens, brought up a terrestrial explanation for nickel, suggesting many comets and asteroids are nickel-rich. But then you have to ask, why times this time-specific ratio, this specific signature, if it's just a run-of-the-mill space rock? It's a fascinating rabbit hole, right? Then comes December 19th, the closest approach, a date circled in red by astronomers and conspiracy theorists alike. This is the moment when we get the absolute best, most high-resolution data we're going to get for a very long time. The instruments will be pushed to their limits. They'll be doing intense spectral analysis, trying to identify times, everything times, in its composition. Is there something in there that simply shouldn't be? Are there complex organic molecules that hint at something more than just cosmic ice and dust? What about its shape, its rotation? Is it tumbling chaotically, or is there an unnatural regularity to its spin? A consistent directional pattern in its emissions or movement would hint at intentional design, not random cosmic behavior. And what if those theories about it distorting the fabric of space, creating a measurable gravitational lensing effect far beyond what its size or mass should allow, what if those become clearer? That's the kind of anomaly that makes you question everything you thought you knew about physics. If light from distant stars is bending more than gravity alone can explain as it passes behind 3I Atlas, then we are talking about something truly extraordinary. That's not just a weird comet, that's something else entirely. We're talking about effects that would require immense exotic density or some kind of active manipulation of space-time. The implications of times that times alone could fundamentally alter our understanding of the universe. After the closest approach on December 19th, the show isn't over, not by a long shot. As 3I Atlas begins to recede from Earth, the observation campaign will continue, albeit from a greater distance. This post-approach period, stretching into January and February 2026, will be critical for long-term monitoring. Scientists will be tracking its tail, if it still has one, and any changes in its outgassing. They'll be looking for signs of it either stabilizing or becoming even more times erratic. The deceleration, the blueness, the strange chemical signatures, these won't just vanish. The data collected during the closest approach will then be meticulously analyzed, cross-referenced, and debated. This is where the quiet, painstaking work of science happens, but with an intensity rarely seen because of the stakes involved. The global network of observatories will keep sending updates, and the papers will start flying. You can bet Avilo will be scrutinizing every single one, probably publishing his own counter-arguments if he feels the mainstream is once again too quick to dismiss the truly extraordinary. But the next times, major times event, the one that truly sets this object apart and fires up the imagination, is its uniquely precise trajectory towards Jupiter in March 2026. Think about that for a second. An interstellar object just passing through our solar system, not just randomly scattering, but heading for a specific rendezvous with the largest planet in our system. What are the odds of that being a coincidence? This is where the alien probe theories really start to gain traction for a lot of people. Is it possible this thing is performing some kind of slingshot maneuver using Jupiter's immense gravity for a course correction, or is it something more intentional, something that implies a destination, a purpose? If 3I Atlas maintains this precise alignment towards Jupiter, especially if it performs any kind of unusual maneuver as it nears the gas giant, that's when things get truly wild. Could it be designed to collect something from Jupiter's atmosphere? Could it be a communication beacon activated by Jupiter's massive electromagnetic field? This is a giant roaring magnetic planet, a complex system in itself. What if it's not just passing by, but actively interacting? The speculation runs rampant, and you can't blame people. We're talking about an object that's already defying simple explanations, and now it's making a beeline for a specific target within our own cosmic neighborhood. It's almost too perfect, too convenient for a purely natural phenomenon. So, what are the possible outcomes of all this intense scrutiny, all these global observations? One possibility, of course, is that the scientific community, after all the analysis, definitively determines that 3I Atlas is indeed a natural comet. But even then, it would be in times, unprecedented times, natural comet. Its extreme carbon dioxide to water ratio, its bluer than the sun appearance, its non-gravitational acceleration, the nickel signature, its likely origin in a system much colder than ours. These features alone would rewrite textbooks on cometary science, expanding our understanding of how these icy wanderers form and behave in other star systems. We'd learn something new about the incredible diversity of objects out there. But even if it's natural, the question would still linger. How could all these anomalous features coincide in a single object? That's what Avi Loeb's Black Swan argument is all about. Don't dismiss the improbable just because it makes you uncomfortable. Then there's the possibility, the one that keeps so many of us up at night, that the observations confirm something truly anomalous, something that simply cannot be explained by natural processes. What if those light pulses become clearer, more obviously structured? What if the gravitational lensing effect strengthens, showing that the object is genuinely warping space-time in ways its mass shouldn't allow? What if that nickel signature is definitively linked to industrial alloys rather than a natural meteoritic origin? What if its trajectory towards Jupiter isn't just precise but involves a sudden, impossible-to-explain velocity change or course correction? That's when the scientific community, or at least a significant portion of it, would be forced to confront the elephant in the room. Imagine the press conferences. Imagine the frantic scramble for new theories, new models. The intelligence agencies, which Loeb argues are well aware of the implications of low probability, high impact events, would be all over it. This isn't just about discovery anymore. It's about national security, about humanity's place in the universe. A confirmed artificial origin would be the biggest revelation in human history. It would force a complete reevaluation of our philosophical, theological, and scientific frameworks. It would be a paradigm shift so profound that we can barely even conceive of its full impact. Every single person on Earth would have to grapple with the reality that we are not alone and that something or someone from beyond our solar system has paid us a visit. But what would absolute proof even look like? Would it emit a clear signal, a message? Would it unfold, transform, or deploy probes? If it's a surveillance craft, as some theories suggest, what would activate it, or what would be its next move? We saw hints of unauthorized SpaceX Starshield transmissions coinciding with intense scrutiny of Comet 3I Atlas. Is there already data being collected, signals being exchanged that the public isn't privy to? Are those repeating binary strings found in satellite telemetry data aligning with 3I Atlas's signal just noise or something more? These are the kinds of questions that would consume us. And then there's the Oumuamua lesson, right? The 2017 interstellar object that baffled astronomers with its non-gravitational acceleration, where scientists missed the chance to study it up close because we weren't ready. The scientific community and humanity as a whole is acutely aware of that missed opportunity. That's why the pressure is so immense now. No one wants to make the same mistake with 3I Atlas. We have a window and it's closing fast. If there's even a 1% chance that 3I Atlas is not natural, as Loeb put it, then we absolutely owe it to ourselves to look closer. The very act of looking, the global collaboration, the intense focus, is already a remarkable moment for humanity. We are collectively staring into the void, asking profound questions. This isn't just about a cold, dead rock. This is about curiosity, about challenging our assumptions, about daring to imagine what might be out there. This is about what it means to be alive on this planet at this moment in history, when an object from another star system is approaching, forcing us to confront the deepest mysteries of the cosmos. Whether it's an incredibly unique comet or something far more extraordinary, 3I, Atlas is already reshaping how we look at our universe, and the next few weeks are going to be absolutely critical in determining just how much that picture changes. The data is coming in, the telescopes are locked, and the world is holding its breath. This isn't just another space rock. This is something truly wild. Folks, we're talking about an object from beyond our solar system, making its closest pass to Earth on December 19th, and while you won't be seeing it with the naked eye, you're going to need some serious glass, like a telescope with at least a 30 cm aperture. The data coming in is absolutely mind-bending. I mean, we've got these ice volcanoes erupting on its surface, this mysterious non-gravitational acceleration pushing it along, and then you see these Hubble images showing a teardrop-shaped glowing halo, or what Avi Loeb is calling an anti-tail extension of macroscopic, non-volatile objects separating from it. What times is that? Is it shedding something? What's the mechanism here? And then there's the composition. We're talking about a significant carbon dioxide to water ratio and nickel in its gas cloud with almost no iron. Now, as Elon Musk pointed out, sure, some asteroids have nickel, but this specific ratio, Loeb himself said, it's rarely found in nature, mostly in industrial alloys, is less than break time equals 0.5 seconds, is greater than... So you're telling me this thing, this visitor from interstellar space, has a chemical signature that screams manufactured? It's enough to make you pause, right? The trajectory is also within 5 degrees of the planetary plane, a 1 in 500 chance of that happening randomly, and it's moving in a retrograde path, ideal, Loeb argues, for deploying probes. The scientific community, God bless them, is split on this. You know, many maintain it's a comet, a natural phenomenon, just an incredibly unique one, but others, like Avi Loeb, they're pushing hard on the idea that we can't rule out the possibility of artificial origins. What if this isn't just an anomaly of nature, but an actual artifact, a piece of technology, an ancient time capsule, or even a reconnaissance probe from some unimaginably advanced civilization? What if the universe isn't just teeming with life, but with intelligent life that's already been here, already passed through, leaving us clues we're still struggling to interpret? The implications of that are just staggering. This isn't just about observing a comet anymore. This is about confronting the deepest questions of our existence. Are we truly alone in this vast cosmic ocean, or are we just now beginning to wake up to the company we keep? The next few weeks, as 3I, Atlas, continues its journey, as more data rolls in from all these incredible instruments like Hubble and Webb, as scientists debate and analyze every single photon, every single piece of information, it's going to be absolutely critical in figuring out what the hell this thing truly is. This is a moment where humanity collectively looks up, asks the biggest questions, and tries to make sense of something that defies our current understanding. So keep your eyes on the skies, stay curious, and keep those minds open. If this conversation resonated with you, if you found yourself questioning everything we think we know, then you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join the discussion in the comments. Tell me what times you think 3I Atlas really is. And please, share this video. Let's get this conversation out there. The more people asking questions, the closer we get to some answers, whatever they may be.